Hey again. So I found a really interesting article and I wanted to share it with you. I got it off the web, and it's by Susie Hoyman, who runs something called Tantra.com. And she's a writer about tantric sex, and it's a really interesting, thoughtful piece, something I'd never thought about before. And it's interesting. It's called The Palate and the G-Spot. So the palate, as you might know, is the top of your mouth. And what she's discovered is that there's a parallel, both physiologically and centrally, between the upper mouth and the G-spot. So let me just read to you what she says here. She goes, I often teach that to find where the G-spot is in a woman and how it might feel, you can simply put your thumb up in your mouth and feel the rougher, ridged area just beyond your teeth on the top part of your mouth. Beyond that ridged area is the upper palate, and halfway between the ridges and the upper palate is the area that is analogous to the G-spot. I find it fascinating that the interior of the mouth seems so close in structure to the yoni, which is the Sanskrit word for vagina, and the G-spot area. Well, what she points out is that when we learn to nurse, right, when we nurse as children, what happens is from that process, I'm going to say this right, oxytocin is released in both the mother and the child. There's a pleasurable experience to have the nipple up against the upper side of the mouth, which opens up all kinds of possibilities for what you can do with the inside of your mouth and with the inside of her mouth. And you can actually caress it and treat it with whatever you want to bring out those pleasurable sensations. She says that the erotic feeling of sucking, whether it be a lollipop or a water bottle or even a beer bottle or some part of the anatomy, actually creates a bonding experience because it releases the oxytocin. And she also points out that oxytocin is produced during orgasm. So there's a very close relationship between the upper part of the mouth, and it's something you can caress in her, and actual orgasm. It's a deep sexual place that I think a lot of people don't think about. She also points out, and this is interesting, I hadn't made the connection either, that when you meditate, in a lot of meditative practices, they tell you to put the tip of your tongue against the top of your mouth, right there, right at that spot. And the reason for that is to circulate energy, is how they put it. Not everyone really understands what that means for people who haven't meditated. And also it moves energy upwards. It pushes energy upwards, which is what you want often during sexuality. You want to be able to move your energy and keep it flowing. So pay attention to the upper part of your mouth. You can touch it with your tongue. You can touch hers with your tongue. You can have her touch yours with your tongue. But I want you to think about that relationship. What she says is physiologically connected to the G-spot and is a highly erotic area. So I just wanted to wake you up to that parallel and to that playground.